Welcome everyone to the CANDU Sports Show. This is our special Thanksgiving edition. Got your host Scott Blair and
Donray Bennett, welcome, welcome. Happy Thanksgiving. Happy holidays to all.
gobble gobble. Let's do it. We got a lot to talk about, and let's in the spirit of Thanksgiving and in the spirit of I know yours and my one of our favorite football personalities in the honor and spirit of John Madden. Let's start with some NFL talk.
Yes.
I love this time of year. A lot of nostalgia right there. Pat Summerall, John Madden, a little turducken. So hopefully everyone can enjoy something here this holiday. So let's start with the slate of games that we have Thanksgiving. It's an interesting lineup and some attention on the middle game because we've got Dallas and the Giants are in an interesting spot because, of course, Daniel Jones is gone. We'll see who's going to pick him up. Rumor has it somebody's going to grab him here in the next day or two. And Tommy DeVito didn't look real good at all this past weekend. And I think he's hurt. So it looks like their third string is going to have to come in. And then you've got the Cowboys who just upset Washington in a really wild game, 13-9, I think, with like 5 minutes left in the fourth quarter. And then I think it's combined 38. I got to do the math. I think it was 38 points scored in the last 5 minutes of the game. Just wild with some of the return kicks and everything else. So maybe let's start with that, especially because that's an opportunity to talk some Eagles too, since that's an NFC East matchup this
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving.
Well, that matchup is interesting. It's always interesting, NFC East, when they battle. But especially two teams just absolutely reeling and going in pretty much the same direction, stands that win last week that no one expected out of Dallas. Um, but I mean, just dumpster fires, quite frankly. Um, Dissension from in the locker room. But all that aside, it'll likely be a great clash because it's Thanksgiving, it's the Cowboys, it's the Giants. Um, and I gotta imagine that Dallas defense is going to feast on that putrid offensive line of the Giants. And here's how I mean, if you know me, or any Eagles fan, you know how much you hate these two teams most, but Dallas by far more. In each of my fantasy football leagues, I went ahead and picked up Dallas's defense just for Thursday's game, um,
Hmm.
with the expectation that Micah Parsons is going to have like 5 sacks by himself. Now, could this go the absolute opposite way? Of course, because
Maybe.
that's what happens in the world of sports entertainment. But I really think that it could be one that get out of hand early. All Dallas has to do, in my opinion, is not turn the ball over. I think their defense will be able to literally score for them.
They should.
And I don't know that it'll be competitive if they at all can control the ball. I mean, get at least one, maybe two first downs every offensive possession. I don't know that Giants will be able to move the ball at all against that Dallas defense that has talent, um, but more often than not are playing from behind or just put in tough positions. So, um, yeah, I mean, I can't get excited about it because the teams are combined
Yeah, I
6 and
know.
16. I mean, what are we doing here? When you got the West, the NFC West, everyone is either at or above 500 within a game of 500. You've got, three teams in the North that are playoff bound
Yeah.
as well. And then even, Atlanta and Tampa Bay battling out around 500. These two teams just don't seem to be relevant at this time. But um,
They're not.
nostalgia makes them important for Thanksgiving. So my take on it is Dallas in a runaway, but these are places. It's so obvious to me that I'm probably going to be wrong, but I'm going to say Dallas in a runaway. What about you?
I agree. Cooper Rush looked okay. I think he looked like the quarterback that we have been told he's supposed to be during the
Oh,
Washington game. So I agree. I think the Giants are done probably wholesale changes across the board. The whole time, whenever we talk about the Giants, I think about the Hard Knocks clips where they're talking about, right, Saquon and, oh, I hate it if we went to the Eagles and, essentially the negotiation of assuming he's not going to get a big deal somewhere and that the Giants can bring him back at a low money offer. Like, y'all don't know what y'all doing. Like, it's clear. Y'all haven't done nothing since Tom Coughlin left. So, the one thing I do hope, this is a shout out to our boy, HDJ, would be great if the Giants wore the Phil Simms helmets, right? With the
Oh,
Giants and the black letters. Love that helmet.
yeah.
Wish they brought that back full time, actually. But yeah, they're not going to be, neither team's going to do anything. Dallas will win for sure. I'd
Yeah.
consider that a lock. It might be ugly.
Two things. One, the one clip that doesn't get played enough though in that Hard Knocks is that scene where the young
Yes.
assistant administrator is like,
He's like, are you
"Are we
sure?
sure?" Like
Yeah.
he knows he doesn't have the clout to just say it with more of his chest.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um,
Say
that
it with your
part,
chest.
right? That part is like, okay, so no,
Yep.
people knew, and I can't imagine that GM. I'm surprised he's still there now.
They should
Um,
hire that guy, the guy who spoke up.
Right,
Let's hire him.
exactly. Or the GM son. I mean,
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
son was like Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
I,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
it was anyway. Um, it's just one of those situations of someone who I think thinks he knows more than everyone else,
Yep.
and I get it. I get where if you're going to rebuild, you don't start with the running back. You got to get your line together. But why do you pay $40 million into a quarterback?
Yeah.
Let
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
quarterback go, put that 40 mil into the line, and then bring in a you know
I'm out.
a
I'm out.
veteran low cost quarterback.
Time out. We've already spent more time than we should on this
I know.
game,
Why are we
so
talking about this? You're right. You're right.
let's get rid of this.
Let's
So,
move on. How about your boys, huh? They're going into Detroit, the belly of the beast.
ah,
On the day that, while some people may say it's more Dallas, I always say Detroit is the home of Thanksgiving football. Dallas jumped on the bandwagon after Detroit, I believe, had already committed to
that
that
sounds
spot.
right. Yep.
Um, and they are, in my opinion, the best team in the NFL. They're operating on all cylinders. Um, what type of chance do you give your Bears?
Zero for one reason and one reason only. I was driving to work. I think it was on Monday,
Mhm.
and I was listening to the the gentlemen who were hosting the morning show on the NFL radio. And this is a bit of a shout out. This is a call out and an invitation in. What they were talking about, delusional. Like y'all crazy. And it has to do with this. They were trying to protect, to support the idea that Coach Eberflus should stay for another year next year, that he should be given another chance because the defense has stayed consistent and all these other things. You're right. You're right. But how about we talk about this? And this is answering your question just in a different way. They are 5-21 in one score games. I saw a graph of all the coaches and what their records are with a one score game, and the majority of coaches are in this like 40 to like 50 some percentile. They're all clustered, and then there's one dot all the way over here, close to zero, and that's Matt Eberflus, because that is how poor they have been in one score games because of just ridiculous decision making. Right? It's 24-10. You score a touchdown. Why are you going for two? Kick the extra point, 24-17. You score again, it's tied to go to overtime. Doesn't do that. Fourth down, you're in a pretty good spot. You don't kick the field goal. You go for it on fourth down. In the process, you're taking the field goal team off. You're bringing the offense back on. You're scrambling to get the play so you don't have to burn a timeout, and you don't convert it because it's a hot mess. Like just the whole procedure. And at this point, he's been coaching the team for 3 years. Like you're no longer a rookie coach. So that's a long answer to say they're going to be competitive. I think they'll keep it interesting against Detroit because they always do. But Matt Eberflus is going to mess it up because you know what? He always does that too. So, offensive side of the ball looks like the offensive side of the ball is interesting because their new offensive coordinator was he was one of like 12 people that they interviewed for the OC position but didn't hire him. Um, And then you're sitting here like he's doing more in just like a week and a half of practice than the guy you had who you hired back in January. So that's another indictment, right? Like, how are you hiring people? Because it doesn't seem like you know what you're doing. So yeah, they're going to keep it competitive. I think it'll help to start our day on Thursday with some competitive football because the afternoon slate with the Giants Dallas is going to be pretty tough. But all these talking heads who are trying to justify, yes, is Matt Eberflus a great defensive coach? I think he is. Although if he was a great defensive coach, you're not giving up 30 points to Minnesota last week. Um,
True.
so I think you're going to have a close game. Detroit's going to win. They're going to go to what, 11-1, and then we can get our into have our meal during the Giants Cowboys game because nobody wants to watch that. Go through our food coma, and then we wake up to see the evening game with Miami
Green Bay.
Green Bay. So yeah, that's my hot take. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I don't. What would
Eberflus is awful. I'm sorry. I need counseling just for what I've seen the last 3 years from him. Sorry. Go ahead.
yeah, it makes you wonder who he knows or what
Yeah.
he's got. He had something on somebody. Yeah, I think uh, news would be if I made a hot take of the Bears win. And do I think they have a chance? I do, just because it's Thanksgiving, just because the game is at 12 o'clock, you know,
Yeah.
at noon, just because it's a holiday, just because there's a lot of things surrounding it that could make it not normal. It's not Sunday at 1, Sunday at 4, or Sunday at 8. So yes, there's a way that the Bears can pull something out. I think it's about a 1 in 50 chance. So I'm not going to
I'm
spend
with you.
too much time on this. I expect a blowout and would be surprised if it's close. Um, I think Detroit by 100 and call it a day. I do. I think they are resting their starters by the end of the third quarter.
You said Detroit by 100. Now, I will say this. So, if that's what happens, and it is a ugly, ugly game like that, what they should do is dismiss Eberflus the next day, lift up the OC to be the interim head coach, give him an opportunity to kind of, let's see what you can do. Uh, and then go from there. So I don't think it's going to be close. I think it's going to be close. I don't think it's going to be a blowout. The one additional stat that I'll add to your point about it's on Thursday, you never know. Here's the other wild thing about Matt Eberflus, and this is he seems to be a good man, a good character. He's just not a head coach. He looks he's a defensive coordinator. The Bears have never won a road game with him on a Sunday, which is when you usually play, right? So in 3 years, when they are on the road on a Sunday, they have never won. So the only times they win on the road is a goofy like Monday night game or Thanksgiving when they play Detroit. So
Well, there you go. There's your
maybe,
chance. There's
maybe.
I do. Here's the thing. I think this is also hopeful, wishful thinking because of fantasy related implications. But I feel like Swift
Is nice.
coming back
Is
to
nice
coming
to
back
Detroit.
to he is going to show out. I
Yeah,
think he'll have a nice game. But I do think the second half will they'll just overpower him too much.
yeah. But yeah,
Realistically, I'm thinking like 42-10. Seriously.
that's fair. And if so, call me because I'll need some help. Um, but seriously, Thomas Brown, and that's the one thing that gives me a little bit of hope. Thomas Brown, now that he's been the offensive coordinator, he he knows what he's doing. I thought Minnesota was going to kill Caleb Williams with all the blitzing, and he did well. He didn't throw an interception. He threw for
That's fair.
340 yards. So
That is a fair point. Fair
yeah,
point. So, well, let's hope. I'm hoping for a good game.
let's
So,
see.
I want that to be a good game. I just don't know that it will be.
Let's get to the night game. B Web, shout out. I hope the Dolphins win. I can't. Green Bay and Detroit are my two least favorite teams. So please, Miami, show up. But we got Dolphins. We got the Packers. I'm liking Tua. I'm liking Tua. But what are you thinking?
Uh, I don't know. I don't think
Unfortunately, it's in Green Bay, and Tua doesn't like the cold. So
Miami. I don't know what it is. Maybe you go down there, you start living there, you start, especially the first couple months of the season, you're not really playing in. I don't know. I don't think. I think Green Bay. I haven't
You think
seen
so? Okay.
to where is Tyreek Hill been like the whole
Yeah.
that whole offense, something's off by him. And they're not
Yeah.
clicking. So I
Although
would love to have,
Tua had 4 touchdowns, but yeah, Tyreek had like nothing last
but
weekend.
yeah, that's not something that I think Green Bay at home on Thanksgiving is going to just allow to happen. Um, I don't know. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be, but
Sunny,
regardless, I'm
but a
I'm thinking,
high of 32 in Green
well,
Bay
it's at
tomorrow.
it's at night though, so
Yeah. So it'll probably be like 25.
right. So I'm gonna go ahead and go with the team that has demonstrated propensity for giving Josh Jacobs the ball and getting out the way instead of trying to throw it 1,000 times. I don't know why that's become a thing when you have a backfield like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and say the Packers in a close one, 24-21, 27-24 type deal. Um, but I think their rush game will dominate. I'm not bought into a past concussion. I'm not. I don't. They don't look fluid to me. So we'll see.
Agreed.
I haven't watched him as much as say a B Webb, so I'd love to hear what he thinks about
Truth.
their offensive efficiency is the word I'm questioning. Uh, but yeah, I'm going to go ahead and say in a close one, I like the Packers to run it down their throats towards in the second half.
I think Miami is a place in January that we're going to be talking about them having a new coach because of that just not being fluid. Just not being fluid. And how do you not have a reasonable backup behind Tua with his injury history? So, but that can be a conversation for later. So,
Yeah. I mean, they're 1 year removed from losing in a sub-frigid, temperature to the eventual champions, though. I mean, many would say if they could have somehow had an home game against Kansas City or any other team that they were prime to have made a Super Bowl run. I mean, their offense last year was,
they were
well, obviously
nice.
you get to the playoffs, it's a different beast, right? They say things turn up, and then you got to be able to play with the weather. I heard a lot of excuses or reasons from the likes of B Web and other Miami enthusiasts. But at the end of the day, if it wasn't Kansas City, it would have been Buffalo. It would have been, I mean, you got to be able to play in those conditions against some of the top teams. And I
Yeah.
don't know that they can. If they could have gotten to the Super Bowl, would it be a different seed? Sure, because you got to play somewhere nice. But unless you're the one seed, you are risking going into a New England,
Hostile environment.
New
Yep.
England, Denver, Kansas City, Buffalo, you name it.
Weather environment. Yep.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Because the Patriots aren't getting into the playoffs. We know that,
no,
everyone.
but
It's just the
I'm
weather.
just throwing it out there that, some of these playoff places you got to go to are going to be tough. And if you're not the home team,
Good luck.
yeah.
Good
So
luck. Good luck.
look, that's all I got for them. I mean, I really want to keep it in the NFL and kind of highlight some other teams that are doing amazing things. Some
Like
MVP,
Buffalo?
maybe the
Like
MVP.
Buffalo? Josh Allen.
Yeah, he's doing okay. But there's another guy in the MVP race that I think we need to mention first.
Oh,
Um,
who's doing really, really, really well? Yeah, like Jared
who's on
Goff.
pace to
Yeah, he's doing really, really well.
he's doing okay. But then there's someone else who's on pace to break
Sam
some
Darnold?
rushing records.
Oh, you're
Saquon,
looking up
you know dang well who we're talking about here. Um, the Penn State alum himself, Saquon Barkley, man,
much
after
love.
putting up
Whitehall's
300,
finest.
300 yards from scrimmage, 500 over the last 2 weeks.
He's
The
nice.
amount of accolades and records being broken are just, um, it's a mouthful. And what are you seeing? I mean, is that man? Um, a lot of people. Here's what I'll say, and I'll hand it over to you. I'm
Good.
not subscribing to the fact that
Because you should know
uh,
what my answer is. Go ahead.
that this is that he's any different the Saquon that he was the last 6, 7 seasons. He's the exact same one.
He's just healthy
He's on a team,
and he's on a team. He's in a system
period.
that knows how to use him.
If he was on a team, not even just the Eagles, like the Eagles, he would have Hall of Fame numbers already. We'd be talking about this wouldn't be an anomaly. This would be like
San
uh,
Francisco, Kansas City. Yeah.
this would just be another Saquon year, in my opinion. Thank goodness he got to a team that can utilize his skill set while he's in his prime. So we could see this. So it's not a what could have
Truth,
been. And
truth.
and the reality is this man is a Oh God, he's a monster.
Yeah, amazing. And again, the pride of the Lehigh Valley. So super awesome.
Where do you have him? Let's talk about that then. MVP race. I know it's too early. I hate when people do this,
It
but
is, but
just
it isn't. I mean,
in
we are
the
more than halfway
right.
through. So
And in the event that anything happens, God forbid, any of the top four, front runners get injured or something happens, um, at this stage, season ends today. What's your MVP race looking like? Mind you, I do understand that Lamar has played one more game, right, than the others. But what do you have?
if we want to be real about people's productivity and how their teams are doing, actually, I've got four players,
Okay,
and I've got four players that should be at the front of the race. One is the aforementioned Jared Goff because Detroit is just doing fantastic and he's playing pretty good. Other than that one game where he threw 4 or 5 interceptions, and they do that sometimes, right? I remember Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, they have games like that sometimes. Even the great Jay Cutler had a couple games like that. That's a joke. Um, but Jared Goff, in no particular order, this is not ranked order. Jared Goff, Josh Allen is doing really, really well in Buffalo, especially when you consider that Diggs is gone, having to kind of acclimate to the Amari Cooper trade was fantastic. I think that's going to put them in a good place. Um, Derrick Henry out of Baltimore, and then Saquon. That would be my list of four. Not Lamar, not Pat, not Mahomes. Just I don't see the passing stats that warrant just kind of a unanimous. They're at the front. Nobody else is in consideration. I'm not seeing it, and especially because Kansas City different because they've only got one loss. But with Baltimore, they have been so up and down that no, this is not a runaway. I actually think that these other four gentlemen are there. And I agree with you 100% with Saquon. He finally got to a place that knows how to use him. And my one joke was just, again, a reference to Hard Knocks. When the GM for the Giants said Philly's out of the run and Chicago's running up the price. I think that was
right,
100% false, right? Because Philly clearly wasn't out of the race, and Chicago never runs the price out, right? They never really, because they don't pay nobody nothing. That's why they never hire a coach that's anything, because they don't want to pay
sure.
nobody. So that's going back to when Mike Ditka said that when he was playing for the Bears. So, um, I would, if this continues at the end of the regular season, I'll be the first one. Saquon should be the MVP. I'll be the first one.
So I like your list, and I wouldn't argue against it. I have a
He's
different
got
one. Right.
1,400 yards, and it's only what, 11 games in the season?
Yep. Yep.
Amazing.
Agreed.
All
Um,
right, I got excited for the Eagles. You should
one,
capture that.
yeah, one name I want to throw out there. Not that I actually believe it. The name is, at the top of the list. But when you have a team like the Steelers who are 8-3,
Uh,
done it and leading a division where you just named two individuals who are thrown into an MVP race, right?
that's
No one
fair.
talks about the Steelers. They're 8-3. They don't have an offense to really speak of that's lighting up the board or winning.
Are you advocating for Justin Fields?
I am saying that let's look to the defensive side.
Yeah,
Would
TJ.
a TJ Watt with his
Yeah.
8 sacks or so, four forced fumbles, um, even though he doesn't have the prolific stats that he had, say, last year when he was a defensive year player of the year candidate or the year before, should we start looking, if we're talking about teams who are performing well and the key catalysts that are key, reasons behind that performance? We always look to quarterbacks, of course. But what about a team that's 8-3, leading a division that they really shouldn't be, according to all experts, and even at this point, don't get the respect they deserve? Don't even have a primary quarterback this year. I mean, they do now, obviously, but they went through several games with a backup and are still not performing offensively at the near the top of any statistical categories. And yet there they sit. So yes, coaching obviously has to play a role, but who in that defensive end is really holding them down if no one
That's
individually are
fair.
doing it offensively? And so, I mean, why not at least consider a name like a TJ Watt? Same thing with some of the other teams that are at the top of the list. If you I mean, I don't know that they kind of have that same type of
That's fair.
je ne sais quoi, but I kind of wonder if the Commanders and Texans, if there isn't someone on the defensive end that really have been a reason. Or, of course, you said you're Sam Darnold. I would agree. And the Green Bay Packers are 8-3, so
Yeah.
there's someone out there. I get it as a collective effort, so it's kind of hard to pull out one in many of the cases I'm speaking about.
Yeah.
But I just feel like someone from the Steelers has to be leading that squad, and all signs point to a TJ Watt. And so I think if he can get some big statistical games down the stretch here, and hit the teens, mid to upper teens in sacks, and he's got to be in conversation, I would think, if they win that division with 4 or 5 losses. Come on now. If they get to 13 wins, 12, 13 wins, win that division, I, you got to look. There's got to be a candidate on that team somewhere. There just has to be.
I'm with
Um,
you.
and I got to imagine it's got to go to the defensive side. So I just want to put that out there to stir the pot a little bit. It's not a statistical award, in my opinion, completely, or else obviously Joe Burrow would probably be at the top, considering he's doing
Yeah,
everything possible. And
that's
but
fair.
what else can you do if that's your role to play quarterback and you play it to darn near perfection, and you're setting records along the way? What, you got to throw up your hands at this point, like the security guard in the Jordan in the he does that, right? When he beats him in the
Yeah.
coin flip
Yeah.
game.
Yeah.
That's all I keep seeing with Joe Burrow. It's like, what else can I do?
Yeah.
So that's my little thing. I'm not going to disagree with your four. I love it and I love your reasoning. I'm going to throw out a consideration for someone from the defensive end and
Yeah. I'm here
defensive
for
side,
it.
and I would go Pittsburgh Steelers.
That's a good
Absolutely.
choice. That's a good choice because yeah, they're clearly the way they're performing right now, and I think that invites a different conversation about Mike Tomlin being potentially coach of the year just because
Absolutely.
how much of a surprise they've been. Meanwhile,
What
Houston Texans, where are y'all at?
they
Where
need
y'all doing?
identity. I don't know what's going on. They can't figure it out. I have confidence that they will, though. D'Amico Ryans is just one of those guys, and um, they don't really have too much heat coming on from the rest of their division. So I think they're probably going to be content with understanding they're just the fourth best division winner whenever
Yeah,
that
that's
happens.
that's fair. That's fair. Yeah, it was a good breakdown. We want to wrap up with some brief college football chat because, gosh, this past weekend, Ole Miss losing, Alabama losing, Colorado, which I was really hoping they could make a push for the
Ah,
college football
they
playoff.
still
They
got they
lost.
still got a shot, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah, now, yeah, I don't think so. But yeah, what do you think? I'll just say real quick that I'm excited about this weekend, one game in particular, and that is in Syracuse. The Syracuse Orange are looking to have their ninth win, which will be their highest win total going back to the Paul Pasqualoni years. I think 2001, they won 10 games, if my memory's right. And it's a big game because they're hosting Miami, and Miami needs that win to solidify their college football playoff possibility. So, them hosting that in Syracuse, I haven't seen a release yet. It would make a lot of sense for College Game Day to go to the dome. But they haven't been there ever, so that would be really cool for my people up in Syracuse. So I got my eye on that game. But what are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, I've really locked in to Colorado. I'm really hoping that they make a run. Um, they've got Okie State, which should be a W. Um, and they got an outside chance again. I'm still hyper focused on them. In terms of the rest of the nation, I'm just looking forward to everything washing out. Of course, I'm going for Big Blue against Ohio State. I love the weekend that's coming up. I love the rivalry weekend. I love some of these games we're going to see. Here's my hot take though. Vanderbilt is going to upset Tennessee and completely throw that
That'd be awesome.
for a they'll put everyone up in arms. You're just going to see a lot of shakeup to that CFP rankings, because South Carolina, for instance, is playing Clemson,
Yeah.
and I'm pretty sure they've got both of them in there or considering both of them. So one of them's got to drop. It's going to be a great weekend. I love rivalry type weekends. The only thing I don't like is that there's teams, you know, uh, uh, historical teams like Penn State who really don't have a true rival, specific
Yeah, they
individual
don't.
rival, and so they're up against Maryland, I believe.
Yeah.
Those are that is kind of like a man. You've got your ND, USC, you've got your you know Michigan and Ohio State, Auburn, Alabama. You got all these great matchups, which is why I think Colorado has a shot because Arizona State's got to play Arizona. They could go. I know Arizona's had a trash year, but that could happen. I like upsets this weekend. It's going to happen, and it could happen in favor of Colorado somehow, some way. If Iowa State can I mean, they're playing against
Mm,
Kansas State, right?
yeah.
So if Iowa State loses to Kansas State, which is entirely possible, and then you've got Arizona State going against Arizona, which could be the upset that's needed. As long as Colorado takes care of business, they're back in the driver's seat for playing against BYU in the chip.
I don't disagree because the Big Ten was trying to make a Penn State, Michigan State thing happen because they would usually play each other on the last weekend. Yeah, because it's Penn State's rivals. Unfortunately, they don't play them anymore. It's Syracuse, it's West Virginia, it's Pitt. So it's just a darn. It's too bad that they don't get
They
that
could have held
matchup.
on to that Pitt one. I really think they should have let that continue, kind of, which they do now with all these rearranging of conferences. Some teams still maintain their key rival
Yeah.
weekend and whatnot. It's unfortunate that it didn't
Especially the
happen.
Syracuse one. So I'm going to do a really quick history for folks, and I'm pretty sure I'm correct on this history. Whenever there's a Penn State home game, they actually have, I forget the student group, I think, that guards the Lion Shrine. I'm sure for those folks who are familiar with Penn State, it's the Nittany Lion little statue thing that they have. It's not little, it's pretty big. But they guard it. And the reason they guard it is because back in the day, Syracuse folks came on down to State College the weekend of the Syracuse Penn State game, and they painted the thing orange. So it's too bad. Like that's a really cool story, right? Just kind of that back and forth, and now they don't even play each other anymore. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I'm still pulling for Oregon. A Tennessee upset would be freaking awesome, just because I like chaos like that. And I told Penn State folks, relax, just win the rest of your games. The game against Ohio State, y'all messed it up. You do that. But just win the rest of your games, and you're going to be in the college football playoffs, and then just see what happens. You'll
Yeah,
probably lose, but at least you get yourself to the college football playoffs. And considering
yeah,
all the stuff that's happened to that school in the last 15 years, or what happened there 15 years ago, the fact that you're still relevant, like that's a win in and of itself that James Franklin was able to keep you afloat. And of course,
sure.
Bill O'Brien before that. But wow, what a race. We'll see. And
Yeah.
again, I'm hopeful that my Orange can pull an upset. I mean, I'm a Penn State, Syracuse kind of back and forth, but it'll be fun. I don't know if anyone can beat Oregon. I don't. I don't. Maybe a neutral field helps, but I just
Yeah,
don't.
yeah, I'm not completely sold. I agree that they are a tier up, but Ohio State proved that they're vulnerable
Beatable.
even at home.
Yeah.
Um, but one team to be on the lookout this weekend is Georgia. Georgia Tech is solid,
Yeah, they are. Yeah, they
and
are. Syracuse
if
beat them
Georgia
too.
plays like they did last week or against UMass, they'll be in for quite a problem. And I would love to hear them complain about not making the playoffs because they have four losses.
Yeah.
Because three is a lot. Four is stop it. Like you shouldn't
Yeah.
be complaining with three anyway, because for the last 70 years you would have not even been in conversation.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
so
exactly.
quiet down.
Yeah, have
Quiet
some
down.
sense.
If you win the conference or if you have one or zero losses, that's the only people who can complain about not making it.
Not making
Anyone
it.
else can be quiet. I don't want to
Yeah.
hear it. Even if it's
Truth.
my own favorite teams, you can't complain.
Truth. And a special shout out to my favorite college football, EA Sports college football team who I won the national title with, UNLV. I see y'all running Rebels. You currently
Yeah,
ranked 22 at 9-2. Keep it going. Keep it going. Tarkanian is looking down from above, saying,
yeah.
keep it going with his towel. He's biting it. So
There you go. There you go. Yeah, congratulations to you on winning the first season of the dynasty that we have on College Football 25 on PlayStation 5.
coming for
So
that two-peat. Let's do it.
not happening. My team is trash, but I'm telling you, I've got the playbook now. We're good. Um,
Let's get it.
so all right. So last hot takes before we get out of here.
Yankees sign Juan Soto. If not, good
Mm,
luck. Yankees sign Juan Soto. And the NBA, all this noise about how people are not watching your game anymore, it's real. You need to pay attention to it. Between injuries and just the style of play, you all need to pay attention to that.
Amen. And for me, I'll just say, shout out to UCLA women's basketball on upsetting
Salute.
Dawn Staley's Gamecocks, and I'll say shout out to them. If anything, it makes SC more dangerous because they've been humbled. They know what it tastes like, and they're not going to want to let that happen again. But kudos to the team that was able to put a stop to that win streak. So that's for me. Shout out to them. And that's it. I mean, I don't want to go too long on anything else. We got the holidays coming up. We're going to have a
Yeah.
lot to talk about when we get back. So
Enjoy that turkey. And congratulations, Dallas Wings, getting the first pick in the WNBA draft. Paige Beckers. Paige
yeah,
Beckers.
Paige Beckers. I know some of the posts. It's crazy that now she has to play a whole season knowing that she's probably going
Yep.
to Dallas. So
Yep.
hopefully she stays healthy.
Yeah, she will. They're going to win the championship this year. Book
Oh
it.
wow,
Book it.
we'll see. All right, man. Well, it's great talking to you. Great catching up.
Great episode,
We'll
y'all.
see you on the other side.
Yep.
Peace.
Peace.